Highguard doesn't excite me at all, based purely on the look and the fact that it's clearly a Valorant clone. Valorant It looks like Valorant.
No, it doesn't. Well, it does, but Valorant's art style is different in a very foundational way. At its core, pretty much all of Valorant is actually extremely visually cohesive. All of the weapons, the environments, the characters, the effects, the UI, all of the game shares a single artistic direction, with one gigantic, unavoidable element, which is one letter away from sins. Highguard, which is going to be our main point of contrast, is barely visually coherent even before customization options are involved. The horse, the gun designs, the character designs, all of the environments, they all look like they could be from entirely separate pieces of work. There are two main parts that make up an art style, the shapes that you choose and the colors that fill those shapes. Valorant's art style is very, very angular across everything. Look here at Brimstone's face. I can trace here, here, and here, and I don't think you need me to tell you that these are obviously all straight lines. Look at his face in this side shot. His beard pretty much makes his entire face into a big brick, and the front side of his face is all sharp angles. There's pretty much nothing circular to this entire image except maybe his ear. His face is split up into three layers, with the outer layer here, the mid layer here where the light stops, and the outer layer which is clearly defined by the beard. This isn't just because he's captured in the right lighting either. Every single shot of Brimstone has these clearly defined lines, even when he's on the brink of death. Other characters are like this too. Viper's face shape is pretty fittingly a couple of big V's stacked on top of each other. One with this outer face shape, another one for the lighting, a teeny one for her nose, and a wide one for her brow. I do want to make it clear that I'm not just describing basic human anatomy. Contrast back to Brimstone, he's pretty clearly not like Viper. His outer face shape is a lot wider, with his beard really filling it out, whereas Viper has a hard edge at the bottom of her chin. Brimstone's beard also means that the light hits his face super differently, and as we saw earlier with the side shot, even when illuminated, some parts are dark and some parts are bright. Continuing our way up his face, Brimstone's nose is rounded at the edges, and his brow is not angled at all. He's just a big brick. The super angular design is not just across its characters. Throughout all of Valorant's art, all of its weapons, its environments, and its effects, it's all like this until we get to that thing. As for the other half of your art style, which is what colors you pick, Valorant is pretty consistent there too. There isn't really a single character that has more than two main colors throughout their design, plus black or white, and the environments those characters are standing in each have a color theme, with the colors throughout it generally being a gradient on whatever the level is about. That brings me to the last part of the puzzle, which are, of course, your various handheld propulsion systems. Valorant's weapons are completely uniform. Everything is solid black. To varying degrees, every single weapon in Valorant is a big black brick with a muzzle on it. There's not much color variety, but every single one of them looks distinct enough that you can easily tell which is which just by the silhouette. It's pretty clear to me that they spent a lot of effort into making each and every one of the weapons look extremely unique, because even though there are some that share similar roles, you can always distinguish which is which, sometimes in really subtle ways that I can tell you are only the result of many attempts at iteration. The Spectre and Stinger are both SMGs, but you can always tell them apart from the different stocks and the long suppressor for the Spectre. The Bucky and Judge are both shotguns, but the gigantic drum mag makes it immediately clear how the Judge is different and how it's going to operate. The Phantom and Vandal are similar rifles, but the Phantom is all straight angles, whereas the Vandal has curves everywhere, in the magazine, the grip, and the stock, and of course the Phantom has a much more pronounced sleek barrel because it's suppressed. The Scout and the Op are the only two that you can maybe have trouble with at a glance, and even these have had a lot of thought behind them. The Scout has that lower old western stock, its grip goes out further, its scope is pushed back more, and there's a little front sight on the muzzle that the operator doesn't have. I still think a little bit more could have been done here, like giving the Op an additional layer to its scope or something to make the outline a little bit more obviously different, but now there are 15,000 skins for it. I think the time has maybe passed for an Op redesign, but I'm not getting into the monetization yet. That's soon, though, because it's unavoidable. Just like the weapons and the characters, the environments are all angles everywhere. The environments feel similar to Counter-Strike in that they were clearly play-tested extensively to find what worked. What differs is that while Counter-Strike and pretty much every other game I've played tries to mold its environments to make them look like real places, Valorant does not. You are not blowing up like a physical location that could exist, you are blowing up an area that was handcrafted to be as competitive as possible. There is a tiny little bit of window dressing, of course, but mainly on the outer edges of the play space to create at least the bare minimum of the illusion that it could be a real location. When you get close to a site though, there is no chance that it's going to make any sense, and honestly that's not a bad thing because they definitely achieve what they set out to do. These areas do not suffer from Rainbow Six Siege disease, and let me get into what that means. I think the thing that makes it really obvious for me that Valorant did this is that it still has plenty of square objects and hard angles in its environment. When they were making the environments, they found it worked in playtesting and then did not change it at all from there. Whereas when you do something similar in another shooter, you might end up rounding an edge or adding extra greeble to make it look real. What was a big arbitrary cube might become a car, but cars have many holes in them, which can change gameplay a lot. Because Valorant never does this and everything is still all boxy and simple, it means that you basically never experience getting shot at from a ridiculous angle that the developers never accounted for, which was the completely unintentional byproduct of an art pass. Something that is over pretty much every other competitive shooter I've ever played. Getting a break from that is more refreshing than I can put into words, especially because certain games ended up becoming so centered around exploiting those angles that it's practically become the entire gameplay identity of Rainbow Six Siege. Even with how polished Counter-Strike's levels are, the dedication to the level of detail has resulted in more outrageous spots than I could ever possibly hope to list, which theoretically, that does admittedly raise the skill ceiling, but two things. The skill ceiling is honestly high enough in the first place, and also means that the amount of game knowledge that you need to play every map goes up about as much as the amount of Viper and Chamber fanfiction after this music video is released. Now, the art style in Valorant is really well done. They put all this effort into making it consistent, and it looks great, and there's been that unspoken sort of Damocles hanging over this entire video that unironically ruins everything that I've spoken about so far. It is, in honest, frank terms, Valorant's truly demonic monetization that is mathematically perfected to be as horrific as possible. If you've been watching for a while, you've probably picked up that I'm pretty desensitized to monetization in live service games, and instead of getting angry at the outrageously priced cosmetics in something like Apex, I understand why it's like this. What taught me that lesson is Valorant. If you play a lot of Valorant and you really look and see what your teammates have been willing to pay money for, it will teach you a great deal.
I'm gonna like. Is it a peek?
I genuinely think that coming to terms with this and realizing that almost everyone that plays this game has at least one $100 or more skin is something that will help you get a degree in marketing. I understand now why gacha is the norm. Each skin is pretty much minimum $20, and they do not care if they compromise the integrity of the art style that they did so much to keep consistent. Some of them try to stay within the confines of the angular design, but lots, especially the op skins, just go wacky and wild with it, and it looks like if a sniper rifle was taking notes from the wacky New Year's glasses. Even with the ones that are trying to be angular, like, these designs they're not coherent. Not even with the base game's art style, but also with each other. Do any of these skins look like they're from the same game? Tree Crystal Shotgun? Or the Lollipop Chainsaw Bubblegum Shotgun? My watch just went off. SMG from the Madness universe? God forbid you pick up someone's gun off the ground and then have to decipher what it even is on top of realizing it's all crusty and sticky. I would like to remind you that Valorant is a tack shooter, where often you're put into situations where time is of the essence, the bomb is ticking, and there's some thing on the side of your screen. I can't waste time hovering it to see what the name is, there's no time, but it sure looks all spiky and good. I pick it up only to realize it's the same gun that I already had, just with less bullets, and now I'm dead. And I know some bastard is gonna be like, why are you complaining about it if you clearly engaged with it because you have skins? And first off, fuck you! And secondly, I am not immune to propaganda. The entire system is built to maximize the fear of missing out. You have maybe only half a dozen skins at any given time available to you, with a constantly rotating new bundle with outrageous prices. Of course, if they actually listed the skins with a $20 price tag, everyone would be upset. You just need to look at some games that have actually made this mistake to see that. Instead, they cloak it behind their Valorant fun bucks, which you can get so many of with just a quick and easy swipe of your credit card, and they're so generous too, you get thousands of them for the price of your average Domino's order, and if everything that you want to buy costs $50,000, well, That must mean that they're really high quality stuff. At the end of the day, you're still spending $20 for nothing, but because it's cloaked behind those currencies, especially given that you inevitably will have some left over after you buy what you want, it sure doesn't feel like you wasted your money. After all, you made an investment. Those extra 600 that you have lying around, they aren't completely useless and unable to buy anything ever. Actually, they'll make it cheaper and easier to buy the next thing that catches your eye. And that's how they get you. That's exactly how people end up filing bankruptcy because of Valorant skins. Have you heard how animated I am reading this part of the script, by the way? This is maybe the most angry I have ever been during any of my recording sessions for any of my videos. As for how this relates back to Highguard, Highguard's base design already looks like everyone's got skins equipped. Valorant at least has a really good and consistent base, even if the skins completely throw that out. Highguard doesn't really have a solid art base to work with in the same way. It already looks like Overwatch started to look like after a few years of skins and additions. It is kind of aggressively patronizing the way that they lay out what's currently available. They change what's available in the store every day, but only like 4 skins rotate through it. After a bundle comes and goes, there's no way to say buy skins specifically from a certain skin line that you like, unless they are currently rotating through a bundle that just happens to have everything that you want, something that I've only ever seen happen once, and it was while I was recording this video. And there's no way to even simply get notified that a skin that you're interested in is available in the store. The only way to know is to obsessively check the store every single day when it rotates. And sites that try to show this information outside of the client are taken down by Riot as it's against their terms of service. It's not exactly a mystery why they do this. Obviously they want you to log into the game every day, and there's a reason why the store resets during prime hours. Now, it's important to note that Riot is no stranger to Artstyle breaking skins. Such things are all over their other insanely popular team-based competitive 5v5 game in the same launcher. But League lets you buy whatever you want, whenever you want, and the reason that Valorant is so much more evil, I think, is because in League you can buy a character skin for one champ that you can play, but you can only ever use one skin at a time. You can only ever play one character at a time. There's like 150 characters with always more coming. But in Valorant, there's only so many weapons, and you get to see and use every skin that you bought in every single match. Because there's so many less things to sell skins for, the way that they extract your purchases from you has to be a lot more drawn out. If they let you buy whatever whenever, then sure, a lot of people would open up the game, drop $150 in the skins that they like, and then never buy a skin again. And sure, that would be good, but as evidenced by how it works in the game right now, they have found a much better way to milk people for even more money by drip feeding them gradually and mastering the art of the fear of missing out. But Highguard comes out tomorrow to the general public for free. You can let me know yourself if the game matches up to the expectations of their pedigree. They are the ones who set the expectations so exceedingly high for themselves, and I would love to know if they succeed or not. Thanks to my patrons, Emmy and Potato especially. Like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. And don't spend money on Valorant. That's money that could go to me or a Space Station 13 server or something.
Suffer me now!